Hello all. Today in this episode of Corporate Communication, we'll be dealing with the topic of external public. In today's session, we'll speak more on the external public, the role of the external public in a corporate sector, how a corporate communication manager has to take care of these external publics, what are the strategies which are being employed to keep updated the stakeholders or the external public of the organization. So as you all know, when we call it as an organization, you have different kinds of group of people who will be associated with your organization. So these groups are usually called as public in public relations. Each group has got its own interest, and even the organization has to see that they take care of each and every interest of the public, because each public is very much important. Because people in the organization or people in the community want employment. Employees in the organization expect to have better facilities, they want better services. The investors need better kind of returns. Or maybe the trade, when you have organization, when you are into a business, you need to have distributors, you have got dealers, you have got retailers who want to have a better margin. Then you also have suppliers, you also have the government who wants the financial supports in the form of taxes from the organization. Then we also have voluntary organizations who want support from the organization in the form of a donation. And the community as a whole, the community in which the organization is operating or is it functioning, wants a wide variety of benefits from them. So it is very much necessary for the corporate department or the corporate communication department or a public relation department to fulfill all the requirements, all the needs of these external public. When I say external public, there are different section of people which come into picture. A specific communication has to be planned. You just can't treat the external public as the same. Each and every public needs to be treated in a different way. There is a specific way of communicating with them. So there are specific kinds of programs which needs to be implemented, which needs to be taken up. For example, there will be a kind of, as I told, there can be a kind of increase in the efficiency of the employees if you take care of them very well. If you are trying to concentrate towards the community members in the form of a CSR, obviously the community will feel very happy about your organization. If the business is doing good and the dealers, the retailers, and as well as the people who are involved in the organization will feel very happy because they are getting the better margins. The people who have invested in your organization in the form of stakeholders or maybe in the form of investors, they'll be very happy when they get very good number of profit, when the organization in which they have invested gets a good profit or maybe making a good brand in the market. So there are different kinds of activities, there are different kinds of strategies which a PR department or a corporate communication department has to plan. Each and every plan is different from one another. The kind of treatment you people give for an internal public like the employees is completely different from the kind of treatment what you have to give it for an external public or an external public in an organization. So when we speak of these external publics or when we speak of this, who are these external publics? The very important question you need to understand, or the very important information what you need to understand in an organization is, it is about the public. Each and every public have got a different kinds of role. So here specifically we'll be speaking about the external public or how we are supposed to maintain external public relations. So when I say, it is not necessary for you people only to maintain a very good rapport or a very good relationship with the internal publics, because employees are not the only person or not the only group of individuals. You have wide varieties of people outside your organization, and these people outside the organization are called as the external public. So you need to focus about how well you people can maintain a very good relationship with these group of individuals, with these group of organizations, because ultimately it reflects on the kind of activities you do. It reflects on the branding of the organization. It reflects on how people come forward to invest in your organization. So keeping all these things in your mind, you need to take care of this external public, and there are different activities what a corporate communication manager does. So when I say the external public, who are these external publics? You have the customers, you have your shareholders, you have your investors, you have the media organizations, you have the government officers or the government, and at large you have the community. So these are the people with whom you have to deal, you have to speak, you have to plan a program, you need to collaborate the programs and do your activities, so that not only the organization grows, ultimately any work which is being done in association with these kind of stakeholders or these kind of external public will always result in a better manner. So let's take up one by one. Why this external public, or why this external public relation is very much important? The very first thing you should understand that is it improves the significance of your organization. The very first important thing is it improves the significance of your organization. Second thing, the brand of your organization can be elaborated. You can build the brand of your organization not only at the local level, regional level, national level, but it can also go up to the global level. So that is also very much important, because you need to develop that particular brand. Third is it also helps in marketing the product of your organization better. It is can be in the form of a service, whether it is the form of the goods, whether you are into banking, whether you are into education. It gives you a very good platform. It also helps you in expanding your market to the other areas which you are not accompanied or which you are not covering. So it helps you to develop the brand, it helps you in marketing. At the same time, it also helps the organization to get a very significant thing. So now let's take up each and every external public, and before that let's get into the major difference. What is the difference between an internal PR and an external PR? The very first, there are quite a difference which you find between these two activities. The very first one is the internal public relation refers to the communication which takes place within the organization. For example, you communicate with your employees who form the internal public, whereas on the other hand, the external public relation is usually the communication which occurs with the people, with the stakeholders who are outside the organization. Okay, they can be a group of individuals, they can be in the form of a group, or they can be even an organization. So that is the very first difference what you find. The second important thing is internal public or internal public relation can be formal or it can be very informal. Okay, you need not have to be very formal all the time when you are speaking to your employees. So it can be done both in a formal manner as well as in an informal manner. But whereas for an external public, it has to be very formal. Each and everything, each and every word which goes out of the organization has to be documented. It can be in the form of a letter, it can be in the form of an email, it can be in the form of a meeting, whatever it may be, it has to be documented. So that is the second important thing, that is documentation of the activities of the communication which happens with the external public has to be documented. The third important thing is usually the people who participate in the internal communication is always your employees, whereas when it comes to the external public, it is always the people who are outside the organization. Your external public include, as I already stated, it can be your consumers, your customers, your investors, your clients, the general public, the suppliers, the creditors, the media professionals. So all these people come under the category of external public. Then, as I told, the communication of the PR in the organization flows within the organization. So that means you are collaborating, you are communicating with the people within the organization. But whereas on the contrary, the activities, the communication for a public relation, for an external, goes out of the office. So this is very much important. So you should understand people are different. So the way you deal with these people has to be very different. Then both the external and internal PR has to be maintained very regularly. That means you need to be in touch with the publics, whether it is internal public or the external public. There has to be a regular flow of information. You need to update the activities, you need to update the kind of communication what you people want to do. It has to be updated. So you can't neglect those officials, you can't neglect those individuals, you can't neglect those group of people. Each and every individual, whether small, big or medium, everybody has to be taken into consideration, and every opinion, every documentation has to be valued. Then the main aim of the internal PR is the transformation of the information between the various departments. When you say it is an organization, obviously it will be having different compartments. It will be compartmentalized. That means you have various departments working for different section of the organization. So usually the internal communication happens within these different departments or different business entities within the organization. On the other hand, the external public focuses mainly about maintaining a very good relationship, or maybe not only maintaining a good relationship but also to exchange information with the external public. So these are the some of the major differences which you can find between an internal public as well as an external public. Now let's see what are the kind of communication you people can do with these external publics. The very first thing is, let's see how you can communicate with the investors. For any organization to grow, or for any organization, finance is the most important thing. Whether you are having a small organization, whether you have a medium enterprise, or whether you have a very large companies, money plays a very important role. The success of the business, the success of the organization also depends upon the investment. So you need to have a very good rapport with the investors. When I say investors, these are the people who come and invest in your company in the form of shares, in the form of stocks. So they are the people who have money and they want to invest in the organization. It can be in the form of a joint venture, it can be in the form of a collaboration. So when a person has invested so much of money, they have invested so much of a time and energy, obviously these people have to be kept informed. So the very important role of a public relation or a corporate communication manager in this regard is to keep all the important documents and to keep all the important information very transparent between the organization and between the investors. So the investors are very much important. So you have various investment analysts would be there in the organization. So they need to be know what is happening, what is the kind of profit which is coming, where the deficit is happening, why the company is undergoing a kind of a loss. Each and every activities of the organization has to be kept, because an investor is nothing but a partner of a company. He has invested, so he has got all the right to know what is happening at the different front. It can be the production, it can be the investment, it can be the market, whatever be the thing. So you have to have a very good communication channel with these investors. So how do they get it? So these investors can get information through analysts. These information can be passed on through your financial journalist, because when a financial journalist writes an article about an organization, the people who are far-flung in the different parts of the world or different parts of the country, so they will be kept informed about the activities of your organization. So you need to know that the role and responsibility of a corporate communication manager is to keep a tab on all the activities. In turn, please keep a tab about informing, about communicating each and every small activities of your organization to your investors, because that depending upon the kind of work, depending upon the profit, depending upon the market price, the investor will be eager to invest. So it gives them a chance to decide whether they need to continue this investment with the organization or not, whether I need to pull back from the market. So there are many things. So, but it's not only about the negativity, but it's the same time make them feel that they are a part of the organization. When you have transparent, when you have a rigorous and a continuous communication with your investors, the things will go very smooth. At the same time, it can be very easy also. And as I told, the primary duty of the external public relation is to communicate very effectively to these investors. Whatever be the situation, you need to explain them the background, you need to tell them about the current situation, and you also need to tell them about the future prospects, which will help them to understand and also to see whether the investment where they have done is on track or is not on track. That is very important, to keep them posted about all the activities. It is also important that you understand the internal or maybe the corporate communication people have to understand and ensure that the audience or the people or the customers are appreciating the kind of work what they are doing. Because unless the customers are not happy, the company will not grow. At the same time, the investor should also be kept informed that the audience or maybe the customers of our organizations are doing better, are having a kind of good opinion about the services or about the kind of things what you're trying to do. And you have a wide varieties of things through which you can communicate with your internal publics. It can be in the form of letters, it can be in the form of emails, it can be in the form of videos, with the form of social media. With the coming up of the social media, things have become much more easier. So all these things can keep the investor on tap. That's the very first important thing. At the same time, the investors, how do they get to know the issues? How do they get to know the activities? One is, the best way is to keep the annual reports ready. One of the best important tool what a internal or maybe a corporate communication person can do is to keep a regular tab on the annual reports. Annual reports gives a clear picture for the investor where the organization stands, how much of the money has been invested, what is the profit margin, what is the deficit budget, in which all sections the money has been invested, regarding the salaries, regarding the crisis, regarding the advertisements. Each and everything you will get a clear picture in an annual report. So it is very much necessary for a corporate communication manager to issue and also to deliver these kind of annual reports to the investors regularly on the time bound. So you need to keep a report on the, you need to keep a annual reports ready, so it becomes very important. The other important way where you can have a very good bonding with your investors is through the annual meeting. So usually the organizations call for an annual meeting, general body meeting will be convened every year, so that all the investors will get to know the activities of the organization. 1 or 2 days of meetings will be conducted. The briefings would be done, the presentations will be happening, the meetings of the investors will be there between the organizations, the shareholders, everybody. So there will be a kind of interaction in the form of questioning, in the form of deliberations, in the form of presentations, so that the investor gets a very clear picture that where the organization stands. At the same time, you can also bring out in the form of a newsletter. The newsletter is also one of the important tool through which is being used by a corporate communication manager to keep the activities of the organization informed to the investors, informed to the customers, because these newsletters are brought out on a regular intervals, which speaks about the activities within the organization. Reports would be there. It carries all the financial information. It also carries the general articles also, which makes the reading much more interesting. So by doing so, you are trying to stay connected with your investors. The second important thing, or the second important area which a corporate communication manager has to do regarding the external publics is to communicate with the media. One of the most toughest, I should say, one of the most challenging task of a corporate communication manager is to handling the media. As we all know, if any organization has to grow, if any organization has to get a very good visibility in the market, the best tool what they can use is to get into the media. In the sense, the media is a tool, or the media is a vehicle through which all the activities of the organization can be put forth. When I say media, there are many things you can think about. You can connect to the print media, you can connect it to the electronic media, then you have the outdoor advertising, then you have got in the form of a films, you have the corporate films. So there are different sections of the media which will be looking towards an organization for its popularity. Whatever activities which happens in the organization, whether it can be in the form of a product launch, or whether it will be a change in the new CEO of the company, or whether it is the collaborative program from any of the abroad organizations, or maybe it can be a joint venture, it can be a profit of annual profit of the organization, they need this media, because it is only through the media you will be able to reach to the larger audience. So how do you use this media? How well you can control and how well you can pitch in the media stories is very much important. So one of the good activity what a corporate communication manager can do is to have a very good rapport with the media organizations. So you need to be in touch with the financial or the business journalist who can carry the stories, who can write good stories about your organization. It can be a product launch, so you need to invite the media to the product launch, whether there is a new change in the office, whether there is a change in the ownership, then you have to really give a press release to the media organization, because until and unless you don't share these important and relevant information to the public, people will not have a kind of opinion about your organization. For anybody to have a very good existence in the market, media plays a very important role. So whenever you are doing the activities of the media, see that you have a different kind of a creativity, because each and every activity of an corporate communication department has got a repercussion on an organization. So you are the people who can put everything on the forefront. So you have to make your organization visible in the market. So how well you can make use of this media, how well you can put all the activities on track, it depends on you. It can be in the form of a creativity. You can bring in a lot of interesting and unique stories about your organization. It can be planting a interview of your organization CEO. It can be in the form of that. It can be about the product information about your organization, or the kind of new services your organization is bringing up. So all these things are very much needed for them. So as I told, there are different kinds of tools what you people can use when it comes to external public dealing with the media. One is the news kit. Okay, news kit is nothing but it includes usually a news kit. A news kit is a thing which includes news releases. It has the question, it has got the glossary in the black and white thing. It has got a lot of photographs of the company. It will be having some color clips. It will be there, or maybe the slides of the television, your advertisements, a small note. All these things will help the reporter who is writing a report on your organization, so that he can include more information to it. Any kind of information you can always get back to the corporate communication manager and get the issues, or get more add-on information to it. Again, it can be in the form of a press release. The most important tool what a corporate communication manager does is releasing the press release time to time. You have to be in the race. If you really want to be in the race, you have to keep planting stories about your organization in all the major dailies. The very presence of your organization story in the newspaper will automatically increase the toast or increase the value of your organization in the eyes of the public. But what is the kind of stories you want to give? How creatively you people have written? What is the kind of angle you have treated the story? People are so curious to know about what companies are doing. What are the new activities companies are doing for the employees' benefit? What is that they're doing for the community? People are there to watch you. People are eagerly waiting for you. So in the form of a press release, you can also bring out a lot of things, so that your company and your organization can be there in the eyes of the people for a longer run. The next important tool what you can use in the media is the interview. regular interviews of your employees, regular interviews of your owners, regular interview of your investors or maybe your customers, in the form planting those stories in the television station, or maybe planting those stories in the radio stations, or maybe in the newspapers, magazines, business channels, is also one of the important things, because when people keep watching about your organization regularly on a continuous basis, it so happens that the organization brands will get itched in their brains. So this is the kind of activities what you people are supposed to do. Then you also have editorial meetings. Many a times the corporate communication managers will also have an editorial meeting where the key editors of all the leading publications like newspapers, magazines, news channels, okay, they will be invited to the company, where you'll have a pleasant greet and meet kind of an activity. The editors are free to question the organization members, so they can have an open house, they can just go visit the organization setup, they can go and visit the plant in which the organization is doing the production. So what happens here is you create a kind of conducive environment for the media people, because what you see, then that is what they believe. So when you can give them a very good exposure and you have a very good rapport with these kind of public, it becomes very easy. And media is one of the important tool which has to be taken care of, and which should also be dealt in a very serious, as well as in a very, I should say, very seriously, not only seriously, but at the same time you are also supposed to take care of the media personals, so that your organization opinion or the organization brand is lifted in the society. The third important external public what you need to take care is about how do you communicate with the community. When I say community, it is the people, it is the general public. So what is that you're doing for the community? What is that you can give back to the community? Because it is an organization or a company exists only because of the people. And in turn, even the organization come up with new ideas, they come up with new products, they come up with new services, keeping only these general public in the mind. Then what is it you can expect? Because when a community is there, the success, the failure of the organization completely depends upon how you're dealing, or what kind of rapport you have maintained with the community. It is a kind of a social obligation. It is a kind of a moral obligation for an organization to maintain a very good rapport with the community. Because once you lose the opinion of the community, the organization will find it very difficult to take its services or it takes its marketing forward. So it as far as possible, you need to have a very good rapport. How do you do that? For example, you can provide a lot of activities, you can pitch into the societal activities by investing a certain amount of your profit money for building hospitals, for investing about educational institutions, for giving up with the health services, for doing certain camps, by providing some kind of an educational facility, cultural facilities to the community, which in turn will help you to create a brand. At the same time, the community will also feel they are involved. That is the reason why people look up to the organization. There are many examples where we can say that many hospitals have been built. Companies have their own specialty hospitals which will be equipped. They can collaborate with the government organizations where the funding will be done by both public as well as by the private, and you can also pay the people, especially the community members, can pay very less amount. They can get the checkups at your hospitals. By investing money in the hospital is also one of the best way to improve your branding. The second thing is the schools. The external publics will be investing more on schools. The organization should help these external public to invest on these community in the form of school education, constructing a building, or maybe providing the regular or maybe the infrastructure for the school facility. It can be in the form of computers, it can be in the form of uniforms, or it can be in the form of constructing of the toilets at the government schools. So there are many ways in which you people can start investing. So all these things will help you in getting a very good opinion about your community. So company and the communities are very much important. So you can also celebrate the annual day. Usually every organization will keep open its production plant for the people in the form of an open day. Open day is a concept where the general public are allowed to go and visit the factories, go and visit the production houses, because just to give an example, CFTRI is a research institute. It's a scientific research institute, Central Food and Processing Research Institute in the city of Mysore. So it is usually a closed place. It is usually a secured place where the activities happen. So any general public can't have an access to that particular place except the people who are working there. But there are days when CFTRI will open up its gates for the general public. So people are curious to know what are the kind of activities it happens, what are the kind of food processing it happens. So when in the form of a open house, when you keep it open for the community members, it will have a kind of a strong bonding. Okay, people will also get a chance to know what is happening in the organization. So these are some of the activities which you can play or which you can do along with the community members. Then you have something to deal with the government. The fourth important thing is the communicating with the government. Government in the context, when I should refer, are categorized into three. One will be the local government. The second is the corporation. Then you have the Panchayati Samiti. Then you have the regional government, or at the urban level you have the government. Then you have the state government. Then you also have the central government. So you need to deal with different government officials. Because each and every organization, each and every institution which you want to start has to get the permission of the government. So there are different ways in which you need to lobby with these government organization. You need to tell them the importance of the setting up of the organization, why you need to come up with this kind of company, what are the activities the companies will do, how many people will be get work in that particular thing, whether the company is going to spoil the environment in and around. So there are many things on how it is going to add on to the profit of the government, because government, ultimately for a government, it is about the tax. Ultimately it is about the employment of the people. It is about how the country can progress through doing all such kind of activities. This is what matters a lot. So all these things has to be taken care of. So you need to do lobbying with the people. You need to speak to the ministers. You need to submit the blueprint. You need to have a series of discussion with the government bureaucrats, ministers. Ultimately, you will be getting the permission. So there are many things which you need to understand while doing with this external public. And communicating with the government is not an easy task. It is very time consuming. You can't expect things to happen in a month or a two, because it's a very laborious process also, because each and every stage will be inspected. Each and every step will be examined. Only when they see there is a profit, only when they see there is something good happening, the permission will be given. So it is necessary for a corporate communication manager to lobby with these government officials. So you need to put your things right. You need to tell them the reality. You need to tell them how it is going to be helpful for the people. So you need to communicate with the local government, you need to communicate with the state government, you need to communicate with the central government officials, and each and every individuals are different, and every plan need not be acceptable. So you have to justify your thing, you need to justify your activities, because the way you deal with a local government is completely different from the state government. And the way you deal with the state government is completely different from the central government. So each and every strata of the government, writing the proposal, getting it sanctioned, getting it approved, then you have to go for a presentation, then the final approval comes, then you have to speak about the financial status, then you need to speak about the security. So there are many things which you have to be ready with. So these are some of the activities what an external public has to do. The fifth one would be, how can you communicate with the consumers? Consumers are the most important people. Okay, so we say that your consumers or your customers are scattered all across the globe. It's not necessary that all your customers who are buying your product will be there in the single place. So you need to be in touch with all these customers. And how you do it? How do you do it? What's the better way through which you can stay connected with your customers? Today, customer is the king. Today, the customer is the person who can dictate terms. You just have to keep your customers very happy, because there are 100 things in the market. Today, customer is the king. So happens that you can't play with the emotions of the customers. you have to keep your customers very happy. It so happens that if you don't keep your customer happy, you have 100 number of players in the market. Your customer may look out for other kind of a facility which is being provided by your other rival or maybe your other competitor. So keeping your customers happy is also one of the thing. How do you do that? You need to you need to understand the mind of the customers. You need to understand the choice, the preferences, the taste, the pricing. Each and everything counts. One of the most important activity what a PR has to do is not only to protect or not only to promote the product, but at the same time you have to see that you can plan lot of programs very effectively and efficiently through your advertising and through your campaigns, wherein you can hold on to the interest of your customer. That is also very much important thing. So how do you do that? You do regular customer surveys are being done. Then you also give and success stories will be put up on your emails. The success story will be put up on the papers. Okay, people will be invited to the company's product launch. Okay, so when you make things in a very big manner, when you make things in a very larger manner, people obviously will have a kind of a good opinion about you. Customer satisfaction is one of the important thing to keep the organization going. You just can't neglect or you just can't say the customer is not important. Even the last customer of your organization is a very important person. He or she will have something to be told. So a very transparency kind of a communication channel between the customers and the communication department of an organization or a corporate communication department is very much important. There are many of the strategies which is being developed by these corporate communication people, where time to time satisfaction surveys are being conducted, time to time a kind of an annual meetings will be conducted sometimes, wherein they go to the customers, they take their opinions, they send them an emails or they call up on a telephone and ask them their opinion. So there are different ways in which you have to deal with these kind of people. So only then the people will have a kind of good opinion about your organization. In today's class, we learnt about the external publics. Who are these external publics and what are the strategies which you can employ to make your external publics happy? As a corporate communication department, there are various strategies and the various ideas which can be implemented in order to make them involved and also to keep them informed about the activities of the organization. Thank you.